Hello, friends. Welcome to Noble Literature Classes. This is our third lecture in the series on neoclassical critics. First was Horace, next, we came up with Longinus on the sublime, and now we have come to Sidney's Apology for Poetry. This work of him was published posthumously, like after his death in 1595, and we appreciate this Sidney's defense because he was not only a poet or a writer, but he was also a knight, a warrior. He was a man of the world. He knew about the politics of the time, he knew about the battlefield. Like, he was well versed, well equipped with all the tricks up his sleeve, and he was a keen pragmatist also. And yet, besides all that, he is defending poetry. Basically, he was not defending poetry, he was defending an attack made on him by some satirist of those times, Stephen Gossoon. We will come to that later on, but that was uh, Sir Philip Sidney. And Sir Philip Sidney, he, as you know, he lived during the Elizabethan age, and some people say that there was even an affair going on of Sidney with the Queen herself. Now, his apology, as we know, we'll come to that later. You can see, you can have a look at all these works. These were the few of his works. Now, Sir Philip Sidney, born in 1554, died in 1586. Well, he wrote this work in 1583 before he died, 3 years before he died. But it was published, as I told you, after around 12 years later in 1595. So, after reading his defense of poetry, his apology for poetry, we see that his defense is more synthetic than original. I mean, he has taken many ideas from many great thinkers before him because he was a neoclassical. So, neoclassicals, they are always looking to get inspired from their forefathers. Okay? Now, we see some arguments which he made in order to defend the poetry. The first thing he says is that poetry is the great light giver, the cradle or the birthplace of civilization. Now he says that if you see all the previous the first lawgivers, the first philosopher or the first historians that we know of now, उन सभी ने अपने वर्क्स को पोइट्री के थ्रू ट्रांसफ़र किया है. Like, if we read any of the Chanakya's teaching, if we read any of the Gitas or the Mahabharata, and even as he was a strong Christian, he referred to his own times, like the Bible's wisdom. He said it's in verse, and he said that Socratic philosophy was also in verse. So everything he believed was written in verse. So poetry is the great light giver of society. Next thing he says that the power and craft of poetry, it has the essence of the divine. Like in antiquity, or in the times, in the very very old times, about 2000 years ago, poets were seers, and the verse, it used to be the language of prophecy. Now he gives the example of David in the Psalms, like P is silent, PSALMS, and he gave the example of Saint Paul. But to make you understand it easily, I'll give you example from but to make you understand it, I will give you examples from our culture. Now, take an example when Kansa found out that his own nephew is going to kill him, that Akashvani, it was made in the form of a verse, not in the form of some direct speech, but it was some kind of verse. Even all the divine teachings which are given to us, all the great knowledge, it has always been transferred to us through poetry. Now, the second point, it was taken from Plotinus, or from 2nd century BC. He was the one who was responsible for combining the mimetic theories of Aristotle and Plato. Let's come to the third point. Sidney says that the goal of poetry is to teach and please. मतलब poetry has the power to reach the real world of forms, और पोइट्री के थ्रू दिखाई गई पिक्चर इतनी क्लियर होती है कि हम इजीली अपना डिसीजन ले पाते हैं. Like whenever we see a great movie or great poem, we are easily motivated to do the right thing. So this is what Sydney says. Although इन concepts को न्यू क्रिटिसिज्म के टाइम पे काफ़ी ठेस पहुंचने वाली है, they are going to destroy these philosophies because they are very objective critics. So this was it. Now the last argument. Sydney says that poetry creates the concrete universals by mixing the universal fact of philosophy with the concrete knowledge of history. And it is true because if you see that the historians, they are bound to tell a particular event just like it happened, they just give the facts, and they don't care whether that fact leads to virtue or to vice. आज का मॉडर्न जो टाइम है, द न्यू क्रिटिक्स स्पेशली, दे completely destroyed the neoclassical beliefs. तो अब आज पोस्ट मॉडर्न एरा भी काफ़ी हद तक उनके ऊपर बेस्ड है. So we only care about the facts, we don't care about the ethics. And he says, okay, Sydney says, he gives a example here that how concrete universals have the power to implant in our memory and judgment. मतलब किस तरह से कंक्रीट यूनिवर्सल्स हमारी मेमोरी और जजमेंट को अफेक्ट करते हैं. ही गिव द एग्जांपल ऑफ किंग डेविड एंड द प्रॉफिट नेथन. Now King David raped a woman in his country and he ordered to murder her husband. And this prophet Nathan, he saw God in his dream, and that God told him that, go Nathan, you have to give punishment to the king. So prophet Nathan thought for so many time, मतलब कई for so much time, उसने काफ़ी देर सोचा कि यार राजा को बोलूँगा कि तुमने ये गलती की है, तुमने ये किया है, तो वो तो उल्टा मुझे ही सूली पे लटका देगा. हाउ शुड आई डू दिस? तो ही गेव हिम द पैराबल ऑफ द ewe lamb. Parable was a story, and he told that king a parable. मतलब कुछ ऐसी स्टोरीज जिनसे हम कोई टीचिंग ले सकें. That is a parable. So what was in that story is कि the Nathan, he says to the king, सर एक अमीर इंसान है, उसके पास अराउंड 100 शीप्स हैं, एंड ही डजेंट केयर अबाउट देम क्योंकि ही हैज़ गॉट सो मैनी. बट एक पुअर इंसान है, उसके पास सिर्फ एक शीप है, एंड ही लव्स दैट शीप वेरी मच. वो उसको दूध भी पिलाता है, उसकी केयर भी करता है, सारा दिन उसको अपने साथ रखता है, साथ में सोता है, एंड ही रियली लव्स दैट ईव लैम्ब. ईव लैम्ब इज़ अ स्मॉल लैम्ब. बट एक दिन वो अमीर इंसान आके उस गरीब का यू लैम्ब छीन के ले जाता है, और जब वो गरीब उस अमीर के घर पे वो यू लैम्ब वापस लेने आता है, तो वो अमीर इंसान उस गरीब को मार डालता है. तो सर, उस अमीर इंसान के साथ क्या करना चाहिए? नाउ द किंग वेंट वेरी फ्यूरियस, और एक इंस्टेंट में उसने डिसाइड कर भी लिया. ही सेज दैट किल दैट रिच मैन. तो नाउ नेथन लुक टुवर्ड्स द किंग एंड ही सेज, सर, यू आर दैट रिच मैन. आपने वो पाप किया है. And this is how these concrete universals, they have the power to implant in our memory and our judgment. So these were his arguments. Now we come to see how did he reply, especially to that article of Gossoon, that satire. Stephen Gossoon wrote this piece, The School of Abuse, in 1579, and there are few points, and every point I'll tell you the reply from Sydney. तो फर्स्ट थिंग गुसून said is poetry is unprofitable. सब के सब पोइट्स गरीबों की तरह घूमते रहते हैं. दे आर नॉट रिच. नाउ फिलिप सिडनी सेज कि सर, आपका सोचने का तरीका ही गलत है. दे आर नॉट रिच. इनफैक्ट दे आर पोइट्री इज़ द मोस्ट फ्रूटफुल ऑफ ऑल नॉलेज. इससे ज़्यादा तो इफ़ेक्टिव कुछ है ही नहीं, क्योंकि हम पोइट्री के थ्रू वी कैन मेक इवन द biggest regimental changes in their history. Great speeches have already moved so many people in history, if we see, and we know that poetry is so powerful, it is so profitable. So second point was that poetry is the mother of lies. Gossoon says कि यार, you are just telling lies to us, कि वो leaders, they don't have anything to do, they just spread lies by this poetry. and they just mess up with the minds of people. But Sydney, as a defender of the great art of poetry, he says that, sir, it is not the mother of lies, because poet never promises that his work is true. He just offers an illusion. और अब एक बेवकूफ़ इंसान एक इल्यूजन को रियलिटी समझ ले तो वो उसकी बेवकूफ़ी है, ना कि पोइट का कोई अपराध. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ़ यू लुक एट बाहुबली मूवी and you decide to live like Bahubali, exactly like shown in the movie, then you are a fool. In fact, you should take the good qualities of that person, the ethics from that person, and implement it in your life. That is what was actually conveyed to us. So poetry is not the mother of lies, because it never claims the poems to be true. Okay, the next point Gusun says is that poetry leads to the sinful behavior of people. And Sydney says that poetry does not lead to sinful behavior, because it is the abuse of poetry which leads to the sin. If for example, if you see, during the restoration drama, it was very vulgar and all that. So we can relate it to that, okay? When there is a misuse or the abuse of poetry, it can lead to sinful behavior. बट इफ़ वी आर स्टार्टिंग टू क्रिटिसाइज ऑल द पोइट्री, फिर तो हमें बाइबल को भी क्रिटिसाइज़ करना पड़ेगा, कुरान को भी करना पड़ेगा, वेदों को, उपन्यास, गीता, सबको हमें क्रिटिसाइज़ करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज ऑल ऑफ दैट इज़ इन पोइट्री. सो इट कांट बी ट्रू यूनिवर्सली. Next thing Gusun says was the most important point, because he said that Plato kicked the poets out of Republic, so why are you defending them? And now, being a neoclassical, Sydney was a fan of Plato also, because Plato was also one of the greatest thinker. He gave the concept in those days that there exists a higher life form, a higher form of everything. Now it was very difficult for Sydney to counter Plato's argument, but he still does that. How? He says that it is the poet who taught and guided the philosopher. Now he brings the example of the anxiety of influence between Plato and Homer. He says that if we look from modern Turkey, around 7 cities strove for the honor of being Homer's birthplace. Whereas because अगर आप देखोगे तो होमर का बर्थ प्लेस टोटली श्योर नहीं है, and around 7 cities claim that they are the birthplace of Homer. But if you look at Socrates, who was a philosopher, and he said that the city of Athens wanted to banish Socrates or to kill him. So poets were loved and the philosophers were killed in the ancient times. So he rebuked Plato's argument like that. Now he says that Plato जो थे वो उन पोइट्स से नाराज़ थे जो उनके समय में थे, और उनके समय में जो पोइट्री गॉड्स की सुनाई जाती थी, इट वाज इंस्पायर्ड फ्रॉम द नॉलेज ऑफ द गॉड्स ऑफ दोज टाइम्स. उस टाइम के गॉड्स ही करप्ट थे, वो खुद ही इंसानों की तरह काम करते थे, तो ऑब्वियसली उनकी स्टोरीज भी अनएथिकल ही होंगी. इन फैक्ट ही गिव्स द एग्जांपल ऑफ सेंट पॉल. He says that it was the pagan poets who came closest to foreseeing the truth of Christ. And if we refer it, we can refer it to Virgil. We discussed about Virgil in Homer's lecture, and we know he was a contemporary of Homer in the golden age of Caesar Augustus. And Virgil, he was a pagan poet, and his Aeneid, it was the inspiration behind Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, which is the highest allegorical writing for Christianity nowadays. It is the most widespread book ever written, and Dante Alighieri was inspired by a pagan poet. So this is what Sydney said here. And and Sydney also says that Plato himself agrees that poets speak via divine inspiration. So why should we disturb them? Maybe they are already speaking the language of the gods. They are already telling us the real truth. Now in the end, Sydney puts a curse on all the poet haters. He says that may they never win love for want of a sonnet, may they be forgotten for want of an epitaph. And this was all about Sydney's apology for poetry. Now, as you know that literature is a very vast subject, and it takes very hard research to come out with correct explanation of concepts, and I'm trying to give my best. But if you have any doubts, or if you think I have done some mistake somewhere, do leave it a comment below. If you like the video, do give a thumbs up, and please share the channel, and try to share it with your friends or whoever you want to help. And I hope the lecture was beneficial to you. Thank you very much.